Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm violinist Lisa Izumi. My first guest is an exciting New Zealand violinist who was in the finals for the Vienna Philharmonic concert master position last year. How have you been?
Not too bad. Yeah, been taking it quite easy the last few months due to the pandemic that's been going on.
Yeah. Are all your family and friends okay as well?
Yes, they're fine.
Okay.
They're doing all right.
I'm very glad to hear that.
It's a bit of a shock at the beginning, going from almost over 6 hours playing every day, rehearsing, performances, touring, to going to absolutely nothing. This was a huge change and something that I wasn't used to at the beginning. But it also gave a bit of an opportunity to pursue a few other things that I might not have had time for before, and also given a bit of time to brush up on my technique and learn a bit of new repertoire.
I see. I heard that one of your passions is to take beautiful photos and that you acquired some new equipment. Can you show us your new camera?
Yeah, I guess you could say it's a new old camera. I started off with digital photography. Before then, I'd only taken 2 rolls of film. And you know, with digital photography, you can take 200, 300 pictures, put them on a memory card, and it's no problem. But with film photography, it's a little bit different. And I've discovered a new passion for analog photography. This is one of my new babies here. This is a Hasselblad.
Wow, look at that.
And you know, you put it up like that, and you look down at like that when you want to take a picture. And this is a whole new world for me, and it's made me think a lot more about the picture I want to take before I take it, since you only get, you know, up to 36 tries.
So I've read that your violin journey started with your father. He even made an amazing violin for you that you used full-time until recently. You've had a number of teachers in New Zealand and then came to study in Graz for both your degrees. I have to say, I am always stunned by your violin playing. How on earth did all this brilliance come to shape?
Well, I see, you make me blush, really. Yes, I think that classical music was always a big thing in the family. And my father, Ben Morrison, he started playing the violin when he was 16 because he was so fascinated with it. But he realized with 16 it's a little bit too late in order to start this arduous journey of learning the technique and everything. And he didn't want me to pass up the opportunity to have the chance to learn the violin. So he got me started early. So I started with him, and then I progressed on to Timothy Robb and Stephen Larson in Christchurch. Then I learned from Vesa-Matti Leppänen, the concertmaster of New Zealand Symphony, before moving to Graz in Austria to continue my university studies with Yaya Kles at 21 years old. And on my 25th birthday, my father presented to me a violin which he had made. He didn't become a solo violinist, but he kept up a passion and interest in why the violin sounds as it does. And having had a lot of experience as making pieces of furniture and working with wood, he started in the 90s with kind of tentatively trying to build an instrument. And I received for my 21st birthday his 13th instrument that he built, and I took that with me to Graz.
Wow. Did you always get along with your father's opinions as a kid? Was it like more or less? Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I was a fairly compliant child.
Oh. Okay. So after this audition that you did last year, performing a concerto with the orchestra that you played in as a tutti member for 6 years, you then went on to do another audition for the principal first violin position and won it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What has changed since then?
Well, it's been everything's changed. My musical life, your whole musical life has changed since I've been in the orchestra. It started in 2014. I was in the tutti section of the second violins, and then 2017 I got a job in the first, and from there last year the principal position, which is a lot more responsibility and a lot more active playing. And but it's something quite special because I have the opportunity to play next to the colleagues who I really admire and from whom I've learned a lot. And that's something that I feel very fortunate for, and I continue to learn from them every time we do performances together. But it definitely changed my life. I mean, musical life in terms of playing in an orchestra opened a lot of doors to playing chamber music and meeting new people, as well as learning from the best conductors in the world. We also had great soloists come and play as well. It was, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride, but it's only just begun.
Wow. So for someone who's had it all quite good, have there ever been any setbacks that made you reflect a little bit or made you who you are right now?
Yeah. I mean, as with most other students who come, who get to this university standard, I had aspirations to win big international competitions and, had the dream of becoming a soloist. And I didn't have any luck, or let's say in reality, I wasn't good enough to win first prizes in international competition. But I think the amount of practice and preparation you do for those competitions is invaluable, and it really takes you a step further. I mean, there's also probably to some degree the amount of courage you have to bounce back after a failure or a perceived failure. I can remember after one international competition where I was sure I would get into the final. When I didn't, I was totally crushed, and that's kind of sent me into a bit of a depression and a bit of reflection of what it really means to make music and what's expected of someone. And I think even though these sorts of experiences can be painful, I think it's how you grow from them and how you recover. And I learned from that, that it's you can never set your standards high enough, and it's always good to be self-critical, but to have also a sense of perspective. It's all subjective and it's opinions.
Yeah, one of the most things I like about your playing is the generosity of the feelings that you put into the music, and I hope that will never ever go away, and more people will be able to hear that. If you are able to describe a superpower that you have, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, non-musically, I can wash dishes really fast. That's maybe a superpower. In terms of music, I mean, I'm not a brilliant technician on the violin, but I think perhaps one thing that's really important to me is communicating the composer's ideas and feelings behind it. I always like to relate music to a scene, or to perhaps you could say from different perspectives. You could say you could tell a story from the point of view of a first person, so from somebody's telling you a story, or you could also tell a story of music where you are just an observer of a landscape or a scene. And I think it's fascinating to see that actually such ideas can be communicated through music alone.
Any particular exercises, etudes that you do to maintain your excellent form?
Well, when you're working in an orchestra, you're always under time constraints. So how much you get to practice, I think, it's not necessarily the amount you practice, but it's the quality of the practice and how often you practice. So, I mean, I recommend for anyone wishing to maintain their technique, they have to do a little bit of maintenance every day. I used to practice a lot of scales and etudes and things like that. But now when I practice in the morning, it's usually goal oriented, or it's focusing more on the repertoire that I'm playing at the time. if I'm playing an orchestra, sometimes, you know, some things are better, some things are worse in terms of technique. I like to take note of perhaps things that didn't go so well, if it's spiccato or some particular technique, and write that down and make sure that I focus a little bit on that. It's kind of like trying to keep a whole lot of tops spinning at once, you know. Focus on one thing, another thing gets a little bit lower. But I think during what's really important in practice is the thought process, that you're able to identify which problems you should solve first. So you have the things that you can play well, things you can play all right, and things you can't play at all. And so the goal in practice is the things you can't play at all, try to get them to a playable standard, you know. Then you can focus on the ones that are a playable standard, get them to a good standard, and so on. So it's kind of like blocks, that sort of thing. And yeah, I think it's also what's really important before performing is also the mental preparation and visualization. So practicing in your head, knowing exactly what the thought process is extremely important for memorizing pieces. And the other thing would be to visualize walking onto stage and performing it, and visualize the audience in front of you. I think this is extremely important to keep your nerves under control.
Wow, thank you so much. And finally, is there a message that you'd like to say to everybody?
Well, I guess mom and dad first of all, but then also, you know, friends, family, and music lovers around the world. It's a difficult time. We miss performing to you. We miss playing on stage, and so we're really looking forward to sharing this gift of music with you. And remember, music brings us together. Music is a universal language. Sounds cliche, but also in really difficult times, if you've lost someone or you're sick or you're having it, music will always be there to brighten your spirits and keep faith.
Thank you, Ben. It's been such a pleasure catching up with you, and thank
Great.
you for sharing your remarkable story with us. Until
Pleasure.
next time.
Wow.
Okay, I'm adding to the link to one of his most recent YouTube videos online in the description below. Please like and subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more content coming up very soon. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Okay.
Okay.